Okay, today we're going to get started with two-dimensional animation, and more specifically tweened animation. We're going to be using Adobe Flash software, and if you don't have it on your desktop, you can just go down here to the Start button and click on the Search uh, button. Just click on the search window here and search for Flash. When you do get it, just go ahead and pull it down to your taskbar down here so you'll always have it. So let's go ahead and open up Flash. Okay, the first thing that's going to come up is this big dialog box, and go ahead and click on Action Script 3.0, and then if your interface doesn't look like this one, just go up here to this drop down box and click on Classic Interface, and it'll look like this. So you'll notice this looks a little bit like Photoshop. You've got tools, a toolbar over here on the left, and in fact some of the tools are even the same. You've got a layers palette that comes up, and you got the eye icon and some of these things that are very similar to Photoshop. But you have something new, and it's a timeline. And this timeline kind of represents frames. As you probably know, animation is an optical illusion where you have, and in this case, 24 frames every second. It's a bunch of individual pictures that create the illusion of movement. Motion pictures that we have at the movie theater are shown at 24 frames a second. Video that you see on television is 30 frames a second, but it's the same idea. It's a bunch of individual images that create an illusion of motion. So with that, we'll get started on making a bouncing ball. It's going to bounce around this, it looks like a piece of paper right now. So underneath this little square is a oval tool we can use to draw a circle. It's going to be our ball. And if you hold down the shift button, you can constrain it to a perfect circle, which I'm going to do. The reason it's red is because we have our bucket, our fill, selected as red. All right, so what we're going to do first thing now after we draw the ball is go up here to the first frame and right click and say create motion tween. Okay, and now we can make that as long or as short as we want just by dragging it back and forth. Again, this represents time. We're in 15 frames into the animation. If I go here to 24, that's 1 second in time. So I'm going to shorten the first keyframe a little bit and get the move tool and move the ball to a different location. So the first keyframe, the ball is here. The last keyframe, the ball is here. And then the program is going to fill in all the frames in between. That's why they call it tween animation. So you can hit the enter key on your keyboard, and that's kind of like the play button, and it'll play the animation. Okay, to create a little bit more interesting animation, we're going to continue on here into the timeline, and I'm just going to right click somewhere and say insert frame. Now I'm going to move the ball, and now I'm going to right click and say insert frame and move the ball, right click, insert frame and move the ball, and so forth. Now let's hit the enter button and see what we've got. Boing, 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 boing. Do you notice how much it sped up on that last leg of the journey here? The reason for that is because the ball moved a long distance and we didn't give it very much time for that to happen. This last keyframe was pretty close to the keyframe in front of it. So that's how you make things go slow or fast, is by how far it goes and by how much time you give it to move. So the assignment is today to go ahead and get kind of a realistic ball bouncing around in this box, and I'd like for it to last 10 seconds. So 10 seconds at 24 frames a second should be about 240 frames.